A year before our independence, the entire nation witnessed a riveting political game of thrones. Gandhi was so desperate to prevent the partition that he told Mountbatten that they should make Jinnah the prime minister. Suddenly, after 1946, Jinnah had accumulated a lot of political power. This incident on the Direct Action Day was just the beginning. Before the partition, there would be many more riots. By the time the violence ended, Calcutta had become a city of corpses. But Pundit Nehru's statement to the media proved to be a big mistake. Muhammad Ali Jinnah announced the Direct Action Day, stating that India would either be divided or destroyed. The year was 1946. The whole country was in a state of turmoil. It was clear that the British were going to leave India. The question was not whether India would be free or not. The question was when and how would India get her freedom? There were four major reasons behind this. The first was the Quit India movement of 1942. Millions of Indians raised their voices against the British government under Gandhi's leadership. Second, in 1944-45, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose's Indian National Army struggle, and then the following Red Fort trials, which gave a big shock to the British government. Third, the Royal Navy mutiny after this, where the Indian soldiers of the British Navy revolted. And fourth, the Second World War. Heavy unemployment, unending economic recession, and the uncertain British industries and treasury. After the elections in 1945, Clement Attlee became the new Prime Minister in the UK, and in its manifesto, his party had promised that they would return India's freedom. Everything was aligned in favor of India's freedom. Even the majority of the British people were in favor of freeing India. The discussions revolved around how to execute this transfer of power. Here, 1 year before our independence, our nation witnessed a cruel political game of thrones. Events of this last year of British occupancy is rarely mentioned in our history books. Based on thousands of original sources and documents, and letters written by Mountbatten, famous writers Dominique Lapierre and Larry Collins wrote their book Freedom at Midnight. This book captures the events of the last year in great detail. And now Sony Live has adapted it into a beautifully executed web series directed by Nikhil Advani. This web series Freedom at Midnight has been released recently. I watched the entire series and I liked it a lot. That's why, in this video, I too would like to tell you the story of this last year. Let's find out what happened between January 1946 to August 1947. In January 1946, the map of the Indian subcontinent looked like this. The British India provinces are shown in yellow, and the princely states are in pink. Provinces were basically like states under the British government. There were 17 provinces in total. Out of these, 11 already had elections. You heard it right. There were elections, because in 1935, the British government passed the Government of India Act 1935. Under this, these provinces were given a lot of autonomy. The concept of elected legislators and Indian ministers was introduced in India. It's a different matter that the power regarding many important subjects continued to be solely with the British. Like, the British Governor-General had the powers of defense, foreign relations, and veto rights. But still, after 1935, Indians were given the freedom to elect our own politicians. And those politicians had power to some extent. That is why in 1937, the first provincial elections were held. Different political parties of the time participated in these elections, like Congress, Muslim League, Sikandar Hayat Khan's Unionist Party, as well as numerous independent candidates. In these elections, around 30 million Indians voted. Although not everyone had the right to vote, there were restrictions too.